Zeke Elliott, drafted 4th overall by the Dallas Cowboys in 2016, burst onto the NFL scene as a dominant force, leading the league in rushing yards in 2 of his first 3 seasons. Despite his impressive start, injuries, increasing workload, and potentially shifting running back dynamics contributed to a decline in his performance in later seasons with the Cowboys. After a one-year stint with the New England Patriots in 2023, Elliott returned to Dallas for the 2024 season. However, by December 2024, the Cowboys and Elliott mutually agreed to part ways. This may lead some to wonder, what happened to this star running back, and why could this unanimous first-team All-Big Ten selection not be a prominent running back in the NFL for more than only a couple of years? But before we get started, if you want the greatest NFL content on this YouTube platform, please subscribe to the Twin Beams channel. We're an up-and-coming YouTube channel, and any subscribers and any sort of comments or any drive up the algorithm would be greatly appreciated. I'm gonna give y'all 5 more seconds to subscribe, and let's get straight back into the video. It all started back in 2012 to 2013, where Ezekiel Elliott was number 70 overall prospect nationally and the number 5 all-purpose back in his class. Ezekiel Elliott heavily considered Missouri because of his parents' alma mater, but he eventually decided to go ahead and signed with the Ohio Buckeyes. He was heavily influenced because of the fact that the head coach, Urban Meyer, had recruited Ezekiel Elliott and wanted him on his team. And because of that, he knew that he was going to get probably a lot of reps, maybe even start in the beginning of his career over there at the collegiate level. He made his final decision on his second visit and officially committed to Ohio State. When he had reached to the Ohio Buckeyes Stadium, Elliott was a backup to Carlos Hyde and primarily played on special teams. He would later become a starter in 2014 after Hyde would leave to the NFL. Elliott's sophomore and junior seasons were exceptional, with over 1,800 rushing yards combined each season. He finished his collegiate career with 3,961 rushing yards and 43 touchdowns in total. Elliott was named the offensive MVP in both the 2014 Sugar Bowl and the College Football Playoff National Championship game, as well as he also won the AAU Sullivan Award in 2015 as America's top amateur athlete. Elliott's 2014 and 2015 seasons are the second and third most prolific rushing seasons in Ohio State history, respectively. He made a lot of history at the collegiate level, and he was definitely a high-ranking recruit going into the NFL from the collegiate level. And if you take a look at his stats, it's just absolutely insane, getting 23 touchdowns in his last season at the collegiate level and 18 the prior season. He would have a career yards per game at the collegiate level at 113.2 per game. He would have Big Ten awards, second team All-American, as well as third team All-American. He would have a lot of accomplishments and accolades, and also had a running back of the year at the collegiate level. Some of his most notable games at the collegiate level was in 2014. One of them included the Big Ten championship game versus Wisconsin, where Elliott rushed for a then career high of 220 yards, as well as 2 touchdowns in a 59-0 victory over the number 13 Badgers. He would have another notable game in 2015, named the Sugar Bowl and the CFP semifinal versus number 1 ranked Alabama. Elliott continued his outstanding play with 230 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns against the top-ranked Crimson Tide in a 42-35 upset victory against the number 1 ranked Alabama, by the way. This performance earned him an Offensive Player of the Game award and included a game-sealing 85-yard touchdown run. He also had his College Football Playoff National Championship game versus the number 2 ranked Oregon. And Elliott capped off the season, his last collegiate season, with a phenomenal performance, rushing for 246 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Oregon Ducks, solidifying the running game as their most notable offensive weapon. And Elliott was leading the charge in their running game. They would go on to win 42-20, and this performance earned him the Offensive Player of the Game title, making him the first player ever to rush for 200 yards in 3 consecutive games against ranked opponents opponents. Elliott's 246 rushing yards in this game also set a single game record for the college football playoff national championship, where he just made everybody look dumb. And these are ranked nationally teams that have players that are going to go on and play in the NFL later. And Ezekiel Elliott was just absolutely demolishing them. This is where we turn our heads to a struggling Cowboys team that had just lost 12 games and only won 4 the prior season before drafting Ezekiel Elliott. The Cowboys, coming off that disastrous season, were looking to inject talent into their offense and saw Elliott as a key piece to rebuild around. Some considered the selection of a running back at a high pick a potential risk due to the position's perceived declining value. However, the Cowboys felt Ezekiel's skill set and fit within their team warranted the pick. Remember that later. Elliott was expected to be a day one starter and immediately contributed to the team's success. Therefore, he was signed to a 4-year rookie contract worth $24.9 million, including a $16.3 million signing bonus. Some may look at this as something stupid, but I mean, if you look at his stats in his draft combine, he went ahead and ran a 4.47 second 40-yard dash, which was better than expected for his size, as he was 6 foot and 225 pounds. Not really known for a speedy back, but to have a 4.47 40-yard dash as well as that size is just absolutely impressive. But he was also not just fast, he was severely athletic, as he also showcased his athleticism with a 32.5-inch vertical jump, which we know he used heavily in his first few seasons, as well as a 9-foot 10-inch broad jump. So he definitely was a prominent back as well as a very athletic back. He had well muscled framed and ability to handle a heavy workload. He had exceptional strength, particularly in his lower half, allowing him to break arm tackles. He had elite balance through contact, elusiveness, and ability to make defenders miss in space, a physical running style, an ability to fight for extra yards, low pad level, making him difficult to tackle one-on-one, patience to allow blocks to develop and vision to find gaps, as well as excellent receiver out in the backfield. Um, you know, I wouldn't say he's an excellent receiver, maybe in his first few years, and he had strong pass protection skills and a valuable asset for as a running back, as well as a hardworking, competitive mindset and leadership qualities. All these were used in his collegiate stats, so that's what went ahead and got him to the level that he did. And this led us to the 2016 season, a very infamous season in the Cowboys' history. In his rookie season in 2016, Ezekiel Elliott had a standout season for the Dallas Cowboys. He led the league in rushing yards, having 1,631 rushing yards as well as 16 touchdowns in 15 games. He was also selected to his first Pro Bowl as this was his rookie season and was named the 2016 NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. He had also broke the Dallas Cowboys rookie rushing record previously held by Tony Dorsett. And the Cowboys would also go ahead and change quarterbacks as we had rookie Dak Prescott go in for injured Tony Romo. And the Cowboys would go on and win 13 games and only lose 3. And through the coaching of Jason Garrett, the Cowboys secured the top seed in the NFC and won the NFC East division. The team, led by rookie quarterback Dak Prescott and rookie running back Ezekiel Elliott, clinched playoff berth after missing the playoffs the previous year, as I said earlier, only winning 4 games opposed to 12 losses. They completely flipped the script, adding Ezekiel Elliott as he was a very prominent player and a very, very important piece to the Cowboys organization, and part of the reason why they were so good in the first place. Unfortunately, they would lose in the divisional round versus the Green Bay Packers, losing to an absolutely incredible fourth quarter performance by Aaron Rodgers, losing to 3 points, 31 to 34. It's also important to add that this was the year that Tony Romo did retire, unfortunately or fortunately, whether you liked him or not. Pretty much depends on you. But this is when we would, see some of the flashes of why Ezekiel Elliott wouldn't perform as well as he did in his rookie season for the remainder of his career. As in 2017, his sophomore season, he would get suspended for multiple games due to some domestic violence accusations. He would have a 6-game suspension imposed by the NFL for violating the league's personal conduct policy following a year-long investigation into domestic violence accusations Despite never facing criminal charges, the league found sufficient credible evidence to issue the suspension, which Elliott eventually accepted after a lengthy legal battle. However, in the games that he did play in 2017 and the remainder of the 2018 season, the following one, he had returned strongly, again leading the league in rushing yards and reaching to a new career high in scrimmage yards, further solidifying his status as a top player in the league. So he didn't return with any marks. He returned to his former self as soon as he was done with his 6-game suspension. The 2017 and 2018 seasons, of course, were tainted due to his domestic violence misconduct, but he did still perform well and was a top running back in the league. Nobody really saw any hindrance in his playing style or any hindrance in his ability to run the ball. It was more of, character judgments when it came to Zeke, but of course in the NFL, usually that doesn't matter too much if you know how to run the ball right. This will lead us to his 2019 season, and of course, this is 4 years after his rookie deal, or 3 years. So this is usually when they would go ahead and extend his contract, especially if they do like him as a player. Of course, with the Dallas Cowboys, a contract extension is kind of like a calculus test. It's always just difficult for them to just get along with it and get done with it. Always gonna have holdouts, like we see now with Micah Parsons, but he would have a holdout where he would miss the entire 2019 training camp while holding out for a new contract. He ultimately signed a 6-year, $90 million extension with $50 million guaranteed, making him the highest paid running back in the NFL at the time. This happened just before the start of the regular season, and it's crazy that a 6-year deal for $90 million is one of the highest paid running backs at that time. It's crazy how we've evolved into just accepting 9-figure contracts for every position player. But despite the missed preseason action, Elliott played all 16 games and had another strong season, rushing for 1,357 yards and 12 touchdowns. He also contributed significantly in the passing game with 54 receptions for 420 yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. And he was selected for his third Pro Bowl. So again, zero hindrance to his playing, just some more off the field issues. And this is what leads people to wonder what the hell happened to Ezekiel Elliott after having 4 strong seasons. Why did he just disappear off the face of the earth? And why isn't he playing to the same style that he used to play? And, you could really blame injuries or anything like that, but he had a significant issue of losing the ball. He would constantly fumble the ball in, moments that the Cowboys really needed him to hold on to that ball. Football is really just a game of turnovers, and when your running back is coughing up the ball like he's a 12-year-old boy out there, it's just not something that you really want to keep long term. 2020 was Elliott's post down year as he had career lows in rushing yards and tied his career low for rushing touchdowns. He had also had a career worst 6 fumbles, tying his 2018 campaign total. The most significant factor impacting Elliott's production was the devastating ankle injury to starting quarterback Dak Prescott in Week 5. This injury, along with several injuries to the offensive line, severely hampered the Cowboys' offense and allowed defense to solely focus on stopping Elliott. After Prescott's injury, Elliott's per game output dropped significantly, and he only managed 1 rushing touchdown for Prescott's 11-week absence. He didn't have a he didn't have a 100-yard rushing touchdown or a rushing performance until week 11 and only had 2 such games all season. Some reports and observations suggested that Elliott's physique and play style were just not at his best during that season as he looked sluggish and he also didn't look as fit as he used to. When you take a look at his numbers, he had 15 games played, 244 rushing attempts, and only had 979 rushing yards. And this is a season after he had posted the most rushing yards in the NFL with 1,300. So it's just crazy that he had such a drastic change in just 1 year, whilst also having 0 injuries, only an injury to his quarterback. Some could say that, the mental toll of being the only offensive weapon as their star quarterback had just went down over there at the Dallas Cowboys was mentally tolling, as well as also proving his job more difficult. After the 2021 season, Ezekiel Elliott would have an uneventful career and a very disappointing one. This is where he experienced a transitional, pivotal point in his career. He had an 876 rushing yard a season with only 12 touchdowns. Because of the lack of production, the Cowboys would go ahead and release Zeke, as his money was just not worth, the production that he was leading, as well as Tony Pollard just completely outplaying him for a much cheaper contract. He would then sign with the New England Patriots for a season, and with that stint, he didn't really do much. He was primarily a third down and red zone situation starter, or behind the starter of Rodmondre Stevenson, only there for those pivotal moments due to his size and stature. He would finish the season with 642 yards on 184 carries and 3 touchdowns, going along with 51 receptions and 313 yards over the air. He would then sign with the Cowboys once again in 2024 on a 1 year, $2 million contract. However, they would miss the playoffs, and Elliott just, he wasn't the same. They mutually decided to part ways. There was no room for a wash running back in that locker room, and the Cowboys were looking for a fresh start in the running back room. He is now currently signed to the Los Angeles Chargers practice squad. And through all this trial and error and triumph, Ezekiel Elliott is a cautionary tale why you probably shouldn't draft a running back very high up, unless his name is Saquon Barkley or something. But if y'all enjoyed the video, make sure y'all subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.